Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here, and welcome to an art journal tutorial. And there is the sneak peek of the finished page. So I'm working in my Canson Mixed Media art journal, and these are the last pages. So we have the greens, we have some warm colors here, we have a neutral, very textured background, blues and greens, and then back to the warm colors, the red and the autumn colors. So for this one, I'm starting with a gessoed page. This time I use my Crafter's Workshop white gesso, and I taped off the edge as I always do. Now, I put a poll in my Facebook group. What colors would you like me to use? And it came out that they want me to use teal and purple. So I pulled out my teals, aquas, purples, and swatched them out, and then I chose basically 2 or 3 of them. But you know me, I'm going to add white and I'm going to add a dark. And in this case, that's going to be, you guessed it, Prussian blue. So I'm putting out the colors, and I'm showing you here that you can mix craft paints, this Deco Art Americana, and the heavy-bodied paints. Don't be afraid to mix them. And the reason I swatched them out is I wanted to know ahead of time really how they blended together and how they looked side by side. With the teals, you can have green teal and more blue tone teal. And when I'm adding the purples, I'm adding, in some places it's got more purple, so it looks darker. And I'm really just putting this, kind of color blocking it, because I know I'm going to come in with lots of stenciling, and that's going to add the layers, it's going to add visual texture, it's going to add pattern. And I know if I have blocks of teal that I can stencil on the purple, and where there's blocks of purple, I can stencil on the teal. I'm going to use the same basic colors with my light and my dark, my white and my Prussian blue. This stencil is called Native Star, and it's one of my favorites from the 2019 summer. And I'm adding just a lot of white here. Now you're not going to see this whole stencil, but at this stage I was like, oh, I'm going to change my entire plan. I just love how this looks. I wanted to introduce white there, and this is breaking up that blocking kind of look. This one is another favorite from the 2019 summer collection, and this is Screen View. And both of these stencils are designed by Rebecca Meyer. And you're going to see me use one more of her stencils. I love her stencils, and they seem to work really, really well when I do my backgrounds. This Screen View, and I'm doing this Screen View one in many of the colors. I'm doing it with purple, I'm doing it with aqua, I'm doing it with, I'm not sure if I did it with white. But I'm using the same stencil, and that builds consistency and coherence in your page. So don't be afraid. People have said to me, I'm just building my stash. I don't have a lot of stencils. So use them with different colors. Use them with different ways. Here's another one by Rebecca Meyer. This is Dotted Rings. And I'm using white here. I come back in and I use the same stencil with purple a little bit. What I want is an interesting background. Now, because I know I'm going to do, or I was thinking I was going to do some line work with my Sakura Jelly Roll pens, I didn't want to put any physical texture paste, or collage sheets underneath this. So I'm absolutely loving this background. I'm not sure if it's the colors or just the stencils, the layers, but there's just a lot of interest in it. And really, what am I using? I've used 3 colors, 3 stencils, and look at that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? So this stencil is one that I cut myself with my Silhouette Cameo. But I'll put a link to the other stencils and a feather stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. Now I'm just stenciling in. Now this is Prussian blue. And I've decided that I'm going to make these feathers always, they're falling down. And that you'll talk, when you see my quote, you'll understand. So I'm putting the Prussian blue here. Now Prussian blue is in the teal family. It's a little bit of that green in there. It's a very dark. I just didn't want to use black here as my dark because I just felt that it was too dark. And, well, you know I love my Prussian blue. I can't hide that. So I'm putting in all of the Prussian blue ones. Some of them are going off the page. That is pleasing to the eye. It makes it seem more realistic. It's not just ending. And I'm applying this with a makeup sponge. So these look like they're above what was now the background. These are forward. And now I'm going to do some in with the turquoise or aqua color. Now I try using the craft paint, but the craft paint is thinner and it's not as opaque as I would like. So I'm using the bright aqua here. It's very close. It's still in that family. I'm using dioxazine purple, bright aqua, Prussian blue, the Deco Art Americana. Now the bright aqua here is a little bit more opaque and it's giving me the effect I want. And it really, when you look at it, it looks the same as what's in the teal that I've used in the background. And even if it wasn't exactly the same, I'd be okay with that because you want shades and hues of the same color. Now these feathers, I'm putting them on top of the dark ones. So this is building that visual layering look that is so appealing with art journaling and mixed media. There is no texture on this page, but there is visual texture. It looks layered. So if you're finding that your page is very flat, use different colors of the same, different shades of the same color, and maybe do more stenciling, lights and darks. So that's looking lovely. Now I'm using the Sakura Jelly Roll pen. This is 10, it's broad. Now they say, the reason I ordered this one is they say that it is permanent. And a white opaque pen that's permanent is like gold in the art journaling world. Now these Sakura Jelly Roll pens, and especially this 10, it just goes on smooth as anything. Now remember, there is no texture, physical texture in my background. So that's going to make it easier to do the line work. I made sure that the acrylic paint was all dry, and then I'm doing the line work. Now I know I want these teal aqua feathers to be on top of the dark blue ones, the Prussian blue ones. So I did them first. Now where they overlap the feathers, where I've overlapped them, I'm not tracing that blue part. Now the paints are not 100% opaque, the Prussian blue or the aqua, bright aqua. So you still see the patterning and the marks that I achieved with the stencils. And that just adds just another layer. Now I'm using my angle brush, and I am using the float acrylic technique with Prussian blue around the edges. This just frames my page. Lots of ways I could achieve that, and in fact I'm going to come back and do a little bit more. Now I printed out the sentiment twice in 2 different sizes, and it says, "She took the leap and built her wings on the way down." And that's what you really need to do with your art journal page. You need to take that leap and figure it out as you go. I don't always have, in fact, most of the time, even on my videos, I don't have an absolute idea about where this is going to go. I see what happens, what evolves on the page, and I respond in kind. And sometimes that's where you get the most creative, most wonderful type pages. But you do need to do that first necessary step, and you need to take the leap. Now I wanted a little more detail on the feathers, so I'm taking a script stamp, a basic foundational stamp in my stash, and it doesn't matter which one. I'll put a link to a couple of my favorites in the description box, but I just wanted to add that detailing. And I didn't put it on the Prussian blue ones because I wanted that to be different. Of course, I want some bling, so I grab my silver, not gold, thin it out, and splatter it with my fan brush, which is my favorite way to add splatters. I am absolutely in love with this page. So I'm taking off the tape, got a nice straight clean edge, and I'm taking some pictures of it, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't take the pictures before I put the feather. And now we're going to work on the final decision making around where the sentiment is going to go. And I've decided here that the sentiment really is the focal point. And as I'm looking at this now, I'm thinking, you know, I could have moved it a little bit differently and collaged a couple feathers on the side, and they would be maybe make them bigger than what's in the background. And in fact, I love this color combination and everything about this so much. I think I might do this on a canvas, and that's what I would do. I would add the collaged feathers, bigger size, maybe 2 or 3, cascading down. And that's why I art journal. When I art journal, I'm playing with colors, playing with things, and I get ideas for my canvas art. Here I'm taking a Inktense pencil, and this is a dark blue, and you can buy these separately as well as in the kits, and I'm using it like a Stabilo all pencil. This is not black. It is very close to the Prussian blue color. I can't remember the name of it. And then I'm activating it with water. And you may note that even though it's been a relatively short time since I outlined all those feathers, when I'm activating with water, I am not erasing those white lines from the Secure Jelly Roll. Yay! So then I decide I want to darken the edges, so I go around with the Inktense pencil and activate it, just to make it a little bit darker. There are some close-ups and final pictures of the final project. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. What color combination should I do next? Do you have a suggestion?